Welcome to the Brass and Woodwind Shop. These questions are ones that you asked about repairs of your instruments. First question is, can you use a soldering iron for brass instrument repair? The answer to that question is no. Soldering irons are usually used on electronics and they work well for that, but they cannot heat up the metal around the instruments enough to get the solder to flow. What I use is an acetylene torch, and this works well on almost all soldering jobs on brass and woodwind instruments. And if you don't have one of those, this is a micro torch, and it works well if you have only a few joints to solder or if the joints are small. This does not work well on large jobs, but it works great on some of the little jobs. The next question, is it possible to make a trumpet valve out of wood? And I would say no, that probably would not work too well. The best way to find a valve if the other one is missing or absolutely destroyed beyond repair is to find one from a similar instrument and then replace the valve. And if you do that, you'll need to make it fit by lapping it in, but it is really usually not that hard to do. If it is impossible to find a valve because it is an extremely unusual instrument or a very old instrument, you can get a valve made for it. You'll need to send it out to get that done, and it would be very expensive, but it can be done. The next question is, what is the best way to clean the inside of a fiberglass sousaphone? I have a vintage Conn 36K that's about due for a cleaning, but it's too huge to fit in the tub. I was considering cleaning it with a hose outside, but wasn't sure if the soapy water could damage the fiberglass. I suspect that removing the valve section is beyond what an untrained person like me could do. You are correct that taking it outside with a hose is a good idea, and it will not hurt the instrument at all. Taking out the valve section is something that you can do. It is held on by only 3 braces, and all you need is a Phillips screwdriver, and you unscrew the screw holding it on and take the screw out. And then these open up, allowing you to easily take off the bell section. Now these braces are 3 different sizes, so when you put them back together, just make sure you get them in the right place. I suggest that you take a picture of it before you take it apart so that you know where the braces go when you put it back together. After you get the braces off, you can take the valve section and twist and pull it straight. If you bend it, you can break it. But if you pull it straight, it will be fine. And there are 2 rubber rings that hold that together, and those slide out. Sometimes it takes a little work to get it out, but it can come out. Another question about the sousaphone, could painting the fiberglass part of the horn deaden the sound, or is it safe to do? And the answer is it is safe to do that, and it should not deaden the sound at all. Next question is, when I press my flugelhorn valves down, the springs make a sort of rattle noise. It's not the most prominent when playing, but when just pressing the valves down, it's a little annoying. It's mostly only in one valve, and I just got the instrument, so I'm not sure if they just have to be cleaned or what. My first guess is that a spring may be bent, and sometimes when springs get bent, when you push them down, they go sideways and then they hit the side of the piston on the part that's called the baluster, and they make a scraping sound. That may be what you're looking at, or there are many other things it could be too, but that would be my first guess. And the way to diagnose that problem, if that is the case or not, is take the springs and switch them around to a different valve and see if the problem follows the spring or if the problem stays with the valve. And that should give you an idea of what is wrong with the instrument. And the last question. I have a question concerning an old Quainone sax horn. And if you don't know what a sax horn is, it's an instrument that goes around like this and comes back, and the bell points behind you so that the sound goes behind you when you're playing. They had the band in the front, and they were leading the troops, and they wanted the troops to be able to hear the music while they were marching behind the band. Back to the question. The lead pipe is split and corroded beyond repair. Otherwise I would have silver soldered the split. I'm currently trying to make a new one, which means making a conical bore tube. Does it seem possible to make a cylindrical tube conical with a conical mandrel? More generally, how would you approach a lead pipe change given that I would not find a replacement part for such an oldie? Part of it depends on what kind of sax horn it is. They made all kinds of different sizes, from a little E flat soprano and then a B flat that plays a lot like a trumpet, and then they made some larger tenor ones and then some bass ones. So it depends what you're looking for. It also depends if the lead pipe is curved or not. If the lead pipe is straight, which it most likely is, then it makes it a lot easier. It would be possible to do what you suggested and take a mandrel and fit a tube around the mandrel. I suppose you could remove the lead pipe and then make a mandrel that fits the lead pipe. You would probably need to do that on a lathe. And after you've done that, you take the mandrel that is the correct taper, and you can take another lead pipe, like a trumpet lead pipe, and this particular one is the Allied Universal lead pipe. You can get them from Allied. And you'd want to soften the metal first. And the way you do that is by heating it up to around 1200 degrees until it's glowing red. You don't want to melt it, but you do want to soften it. And you do that by heating it and then letting it cool. After you've done that, the metal will be very soft. And what you would do is take your mandrel, suppose this is it, and then you would put the lead pipe over that. And this is the way they actually do it at the factory when they make tapered tubing. Then you take a chunk of lead and you drill a hole in it that is smaller than the smallest part of the mandrel. Then you put some grease on the tube so that the lead block can slide down it. And then you would take the lead block, put it over it, and force it down. And as it goes, it will shrink the tube around the mandrel. You'll probably not be able to force it on there with your hands. You probably need to take the lead and put it in a vise and then hammer it down from the top. And then you'll need to get the lead pipe off of the mandrel, which might take a little bit of work because it's probably going to be squeezed on there pretty hard. Then you'll need to get the lead pipe off of the mandrel, and you can probably do that by taking another metal rod and putting it in there and tapping it down. Then after that's done, just cut off the ends to where it needs to be so that it's the right length and the right taper. You should have a new lead pipe that will work for many more years. Also, if the sax horn is a different size and the trumpet lead pipe would not work, then you can find another tube on another instrument, or you can find a tube that would work. I hope you've enjoyed this question and answer video. Please subscribe for more band instrument repair videos.